Good afternoon.
Oh my God. Jesus God. Oh my God. That, that was super loud.
When it's that loud for Todd, you know it's loud.
I don't know who used those that headphone last, but
I
it
think
was,
it was the morning show. And
whoa.
like, I when I was playing audio, I could hear it through those headphones as if I had the speakers on in here. So I guess I should have said something.
That's okay. I was just, whoa.
Anyway, happy Thursday, May 16th. A little less than 2 minutes. We'll kick off the beginning of the show. We have our Thursday tangents this week with Luke Mathers because Tuesday just didn't work. It happens. The vice president is in Milwaukee. We may take some of that speech. Who's to say? It depends what it ends up being about. But stick around. About a minute and a half. We'll kick off the show.
Showers and thunderstorms dampen our afternoon, and a marginal risk for storms to turn strong to severe, packing large hail and gusty winds and heavy downpours with near a half an inch of rain possible. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 65.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season, to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season, to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have
How
it,
many
you
speakers
don't
are they
need
gonna
it,
have?
Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Hi, Gordy Kopke here. When I first invited folks
Gordy
to my farm,
Kopke.
40
We're gonna
years
see
ago,
Gordy
I could never
next
have
week.
dreamed that would
Indeed.
become the area's largest greenhouse, with a focus on quality.
All right, got a little over 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great day to be a Wisconsinite. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Welcome into the program. High atop State Street, a block off the Capitol Square in Madison, Wisconsin. It is a beautiful day. Sunshine, warmer temperatures, a threat of weather for some severe weather in certain parts of the state. So stay abreast of the information there via the Civic Media app, and of course keep it tuned here to your favorite Civic Media station as well. But then tomorrow looks like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Absolutely beautiful, Mr. Zommers. So looking forward to that. And of course tomorrow night, very excited. I'm going to see Willie Nelson here at Breeze Stevens Field in Madison.
I'm excited to hear about that. Sounds like it's going to be a great time.
It'll be a good time had by all, as they say. Looking forward to that. So, looking forward as well, a special Thursday edition for Tuesday Tangents with Luke Mathers. It could be a special Thursday edition. Luke joins us to talk, for those watching on the stream, YouTube, Facebook, and the Twix. Not Twitter, not X, but as Craig Ferguson says, Twix. I have my Green Bay Packers polo shirt on. Yes, indeed, because the Packers schedule has been released. Very excited about this, and we'll ask Lukester at the bottom of the hour a little bit about his thoughts on the Packers schedule. Of course, some of our fine stations in the Civic Media Radio Network carry the Green Bay Packers, including WRCO in Richland Center, Wisconsin, Southwest Wisconsin, and Park Falls Radio as well, up there in the great North Woods, WCQM. Park Falls Radio up there. So going to talk a little bit more about the Packers schedule and Civic Media covering that. Of course, our own Mike Clemens, our sports reporter, is always on top of the latest Packer news as well. So that's all coming up. Right now, we are awaiting In Milwaukee, Vice President Kamala Harris. That's right. We get another presidential / vice presidential visit here in the great state of Wisconsin by the Biden-Harris administration. The vice president making a return trip to Wisconsin, as we said, this time in Milwaukee. And she brought along with her one of the great comedians, one of the great actors, performers, entertainers, D.L. Hughley. I've always kind of been a fan of his comedy. I think he's a great actor. I like him. And he was on earlier. And I was talking to Mr. Zomers here and say, I hope that he comes as the D.L. Hughley we all love. Kind of says something funny, kind of lighthearted. But he came out and he looked like he was running for president himself, Mr. Zomers. I mean, he had a suit. He looked very sharp, very dapper, but it was a very serious speech.
Indeed, it was very serious.
It was fine. It was great. He pointed out some of the great things that the Biden-Harris administration are doing, which, again, I'm all for that. We did that yesterday at length. But I was hoping we'd get a little bit more lightheartedness, a little bit more comedy out of it. And I know our very own Earl Ingram is in the room as well from the Earl Ingram Show, which can be heard, of course, each and every morning from 8 until 10 right here on Civic Media. So Earl's there. My guess is that the vice president is running a little bit behind because Earl Ingram has cornered her behind the stage and says, come on now, I want to get an interview. If anybody could do it, it'd be Earl Ingram.
So that's what's happening. Gotcha. That's why they keep having all these delays between all the speakers.
That's exactly right. Because Earl Ingram is getting the exclusive with the vice president. We don't know that, you understand, but we're hoping that's the case. We'll find out, I'm sure, tomorrow on his show. But no, Earl is a man about town, a respected leader in the Milwaukee area. And so he is there in the room. I know part, not all, but part of the emphasis is on speaking to the African community in not just Milwaukee, but the entire state and also the region. And, and it's not just a message for the African community, but it's also for everyone, the economy, right? And I know there's a narrative out there by the Trump administration, the Trump campaign and Republicans that somehow the Biden administration has let down the African American community, which we know, of course, is just complete hogwash. Not true at all. So they've brought D.L. Hughley, they brought Kamala Harris, and they're doing this event here on the Economic Opportunity Tour, as they're calling it, down in Milwaukee. So we will continue to monitor that. When the vice president comes to the podium, we will bring you Kamala Harris's statements here in just a little bit. So looking forward to that with nervous anticipation. Before we get into, as we wait for that, I just want to cover a couple other news notes here about the state of Wisconsin from Governor Tony Evers, and courtesy of WisPolitics. And by the way, if you don't subscribe to our friends over at WisPolitics.com, do yourself a favor. Father's Day is coming up in June here. Give Dad a subscription to WisPolitics because he and the entire family, of course, can be kept abreast of the latest political news via WisPolitics. Anyway, Governor Tony Evers has announced a special July election to fill the vacant 4th Senate District and one in November for the 8th Congressional District. The 4th CD, or rather SD, has been open since January when then State Senator Lena Taylor, Democrat of Milwaukee, resigned following her appointment to the Milwaukee County Circuit Court. Senator Taylor, I've known her. She's a fine person, and she was elevated and appointed to the Milwaukee County Circuit Court. That election will be held on July 30th with a primary, if necessary, on July 2nd. So we'll see. I would be shocked if another Democrat didn't win that seat, but we'll see. The election will happen this summer. Already, state representatives Dora Drake and Lakeisha Myers, both Milwaukee Democrats, have said they plan to run. Now, here's where things get, I know, a little complicated for some, and we want to try to lay this out, and the governor's office has done so over the last 24 hours or so. The executive order that Evers signed specifies the election will be held under the new map that he approved earlier this year. So it's not under the current map that Senator Taylor had. It's under the new map that'll be in place this fall. The state Supreme Court, in its ruling throwing out the lines from the 22 election, barred their use going forward. While the new maps include a provision that they don't take effect until the fall elections, the state Supreme Court declined an earlier request to specify which map should be used in the interim. So basically, to cut through the jargon, this special election to fill Senator Taylor's state Senate seat in the Milwaukee area will use the lines and the maps for the fall election, the ones that were put in place and drawn by Governor Evers and confirmed by the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. Now, the special election in the 8th Congressional District, which is up in Green Bay area, will be held concurrently with the November election with the August 13th primary. So far, State Senator Andre Jacques, former State Senator Roger Roth, and businessman Tony Weed have announced plans to seek the GOP nomination to replace Mike Gallagher, who resigned this spring. Dr. Kristen Lyerly has announced plans to run, of course, as a Democrat. And people say, well, why are they having a special election? Here's what I've kind of piecemealed together based on my knowledge, and it's not a bad thing in my opinion. Essentially, there's only going to be, not essentially, check that. There will be only one physical election. So voters in the 8th Congressional District up in the Green Bay area, northeast Wisconsin, you're only going to go to the polls once. And that is with everyone else who's going to the August 13th primary. That's the statewide primary, August 13th. And then on November 5th for the general election at the same time, voting for president and many other, races on the ballot. The governor's office said that by law, the governor is required to hold a special election to fill that state's or that U.S. Congress seat. So the governor's just fulfilling his constitutional legal obligation to call a special election, but it's going to run at the same time. My guess is what's going to happen then when voters in the 8th Congressional District in northeast Wisconsin go to the polling place on August 13th for the primary, and then in November, you'll essentially have two ballots for the same race. All right, so you have to vote once for your candidate of choice in the quote-unquote special election and once for your candidate of choice in the regular election. Now, that may just be a technicality by law that you have to do that, but here's the shrewd thing, and again, I go back to, I can't confirm this, I don't know it, it's just a gut instinct based on conversations that I've had with people. I really truly believe that former Congressman Mike Gallagher, a Republican up there in Green Bay, did us all a favor, at least did a lot of us a favor, those who believe in democracy. Because by resigning at the time that he did, it meant that Governor Evers didn't have to call an earlier special election. He could hold it concurrently with the regular one. Why is that an advantage for people that believe in democracy? Because quite frankly, I think that having three people on the Republican side run the primary, and it looks like Dr. Lyerly is going to have, she's going to have alone in the Democratic race, I think it gives Dr. Lyerly a heads up. I really do, even though that seat is 16 plus Trump. At least it gives Democrats a fighting chance. Put it that way. If Gallagher had resigned a little bit earlier, that means that there would have been a special this summer up there, which the Republicans probably would have won, which would have meant you would have had a Republican in that seat all the way through January 3rd of next year. Why is that important? Because by doing it the way that, because when Gallagher resigned, allowing Evers to hold this quote unquote special election at the same time as the general, that means, it's not impossible, but it's hard for me to believe that voters in the 8th District would go to the polling place on November 5th and say, well, we're going to vote for the Democrat in the general election, but, we'll vote for the Republican in the special. Whoever wins the regular election is probably going to win the special up there in the 8th, right? So what that means is that whomever wins the election on November 5th in the special, but probably in the regular one as well, is not going to wait until January 3rd to take her or his seat. It means they'll take their seat immediately, which means, remember, Democrats or Republicans only have a one-seat majority in the House. That means that if Dr. Lyerly were to win this race, she could take the seat immediately. And theoretically, if things get funky, Democrats could take control of the House of Representatives during this tumultuous time leading up to the next January 6th. See how all that fits together? Very shrewd indeed. Was there a deal between Gallagher and Evers? Perhaps we'll never know, but it sure is interesting. Back with more after this, including the Vice President on the Allbaugh Show. Wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along with us on a Thursday. Coming up in just, about 10 minutes or so after the bottom of the hour, our very own Luke Mathers, executive producer here at Civic Media, will join us for a special Thursday Tangents with Lukester. He was tied up a little bit on Tuesday, so kind enough to make time for us today at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk a little bit about the Packers schedule released here last night. All the NFL is. I'm going to ask him about this question as well. I'll save it. Actually, I'll save it because, we do this little segment called What's Grinding Your Gears. We'll see if what's grinding my gear is equal to or the same thing that's grinding Luke's gears concerning the NFL schedule. It will not surprise people that listen to this show regularly or that know me, but it is grinding my gears. We are awaiting right now the arrival of Vice President Kamala Harris in Milwaukee, or at least to the dais, to the podium there in Milwaukee, as she is expected to make remarks about the Nationwide Economic Opportunity Tour, as they're calling it, in Milwaukee with comedian D.L. Hughley doing some speaking there. Our own Earl Ingram is down there as well in the room. We will, I'm sure he'll have all kinds of information tomorrow in the morning from 8 until 10 on hopefully meeting and talking with the Vice President. We shall see. By the way, we told you this yesterday as it happened. President Biden and former President Trump have agreed to 2 debates, but not by the Presidential Debate Commission, which has been doing it since the 80s. And there was a big thing last night. The social media blew up, and people are harping on Biden for not being a traditionalist. Well, I mean, my goodness. Presidential Debate Commission has only been a tradition since the 80s. So it's not like this has been happening since Washington's time. And they've agreed on 2 debates, one being hosted by CNN down in Atlanta, and then another one in New York City at the ABC News Network. So 2 debates, 2 presidential debates have been confirmed and agreed to. And now today, speaking of Vice President Harris, which may be coming to the podium in a moment.
Nope, not yet.
Oh, not yet. All right. Yeah, all right, we have. But there's a lovely band, as we're watching on television, a very nice band, by the way.
They're not playing, though.
Oh, really?
I think if
great.
they were playing at all, it was cut out during the White House live stream. Maybe that's why. The schedule of this has been super weird. So normally when they say, hey, the president's going to be in town at, let's say, 11:30. At 11:30-ish, some other people will start speaking and then introduce. But here, it seems like that's not been the case because they've had one speaker 5 or 6 minutes where the stream is blacked out. One speaker 5 or 6 minutes where the stream is blacked out. And so on with like 6 people so far.
It's been a slow drip.
It's very strange.
A slow drip of speakers. But that's how these things go. I mean, there's a variety of things we never know. I mean, God forbid there was some sort of, emergency the vice president has to be briefed on. Maybe the plane or whatever is running a little bit late. Or maybe, as we said, maybe Earl Ingram's getting an exclusive interview.
Maybe.
We'll find out. But speaking of the VP, Vice President Kamala Harris has agreed to debate Donald Trump's future running mate. According to a Biden campaign official who spoke to CNN, the Biden campaign informed CBS News that it had accepted the network's invitation to participate in a vice presidential debate in studio on either of the 2 dates that were outlined in the proposal, either July 23rd or August 13th. So ABC and CNN get the 2 presidential debates, and so far CBS has gotten the vice presidential debate to be held once again in studio. The official added, "We look forward to the Trump campaign accepting one of these dates so that the full debate calendar of this campaign can be set," unquote. The proposed date of July 23rd would come less than a week after the conclusion of the Republican convention in Milwaukee, giving Trump's running mate limited time to prepare for the debate with Harris. CNN had reached out to the Trump campaign about whether it would agree to his running mate for a debate. On Wednesday, of course, as we said, President Joe Biden and Trump accepted an invitation from CNN to debate on June 27th, a historically early showdown that will set the tone for months of the 2024 campaign. They've also agreed to that other debate on ABC News on September 10th. What I think is really interesting about this, and I think, quite frankly, is an improvement in some ways, is that there's not going to be, at least for the 2, it appears for the vice presidential one as well, and for both the presidential debates, no big audience for it. So that it won't be all the audience participation, and the moderator has to stop and say, please, no, clapping or booing or yelling or whatever. So apparently D.L. Hughley is back on the stand here, and has just about, or is it going to announce here, the vice president? Indeed, she has been announced, and so we will take this as she's coming to the stand. D.L. Hughley just announcing the vice president of the United States, Kamala Harris, live right here in the state of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. Let's listen in for a couple of minutes here, see what they have to say.
Good afternoon, I think it is now. Please, everyone, have a seat. Rufus King, high school band. What? You all are killing it. Oh, you're so good. You're so good. Thank you all. Oh, when I look at our young leaders, I know the future of our country is so bright. Thank you all very much for being a part of today.
I'm glad to be here with you, Madam Vice President. I love Wisconsin. I'm glad to be here when it's not freezing. So we have a lot of incredible leaders here. First off, we'd like to acknowledge, thank you, James Phelps, who did that introduction where nobody clapped for me. I appreciate that. That's great. We have Deputy Secretary Wadi Adeyemo. Is he here? Is he here? Stand up. Stand up. You can stand up. We have Acting Secretary Adrienne Todman. Is she here? Stand up. Hey, let's do this. Why don't y'all stay standing until we finish? Just stand up. It's not a raid, I promise you. Ain't nothing gonna happen. We have Secretary of State Sarah Godlowski. Is she here?
She was here earlier.
There you go.
There she was.
We have County Executive David Crawley. Is he here? There you go. Mayor Cavalier Johnson, with a cool ass name that is. That's dope. And of course, Senator Tammy Baldwin is here. That's wonderful. It is so nice to be here with elected officials that are not under indictment. I tell you, I swear to God, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I've always been a huge fan of yours. You were my senator from California. I've been very proud of what you're doing, and to me, this is an extension of what you did in California. I'm very proud of the work you're doing. But this is the third stop of your National Economic Opportunity Tour.
Yes.
Why did you decide to launch the tour, and how's it going so far?
So first of all, thank you, DL, for being here. And your voice is so important. You always take on the issue of the day. You give us humor and laughter, but you always talk about serious issues in such a thoughtful way. So thank you for being on the stage
My pleasure.
with me. Can we hear it for DL, please? Are the cues in the house?
We are listening to Vice President
Don't get nervous,
Kamala
Mikey.
Harris along with DL Hughley in Milwaukee. Have to pause just for a short break here. Going to pick it up after the bottom of the hour news update. What we're going to do is we're going to pause this, and so we'll bring it to you without interruption. So stay tuned.
I tried to play music, and I did the wrong one because they're right next to each other.
It's all good.
I just paused it because it seems like it could be.
Yeah.
It seemed good.
That's fine. Yeah, we can take it after the bottom of the hour here.
Matt Tranel joins us. He's a broker analyst in the Platteville office for Everegg. They cover the globe for risk management for farmers. He says the difference in price swings between block and barrel cheese has to do with export numbers from earlier this spring into the summer.
We saw big exports in February. We saw an all-time record, regardless of month, in the month of March. We also have some exports in the channels for both April and May, and maybe even a little bit into June. But the carry and the cheese price was significantly higher, meaning down the road in your July, August, September, prices of cheese were trading towards $1.80, which wasn't nearly as much of a bargain discount as what the prices of cheese were in the months of April, May, and June, when we were trading $1.40 to $1.60.
Matt Tranel from Everegg. Again, Class 3 milk goes to make cheese. We'll take a look at what those Class 3 milk prices are doing next.
Sorting out fact from fiction. That's exactly where Wisconsin soybean checkoff dollars are being invested this growing season. Dr. Sean Conley, University Extension soybean specialist, says farmers are being approached with so many different products these days. It's important they get clear, correct information.
Because farmers are really getting bombarded with, carbon farming, be able to improve soil health. But what does this really mean? It's kind of a big nebula. So we're really trying to say these indices are ones that farmers can use and rely on, and they have a relationship with soybean yield. And we've identified some of those. But the cool thing is now we're wondering what management strategies help alter or change those. So can we actually improve our soil health metrics? And one thing that we found in this initial data set is that we've seen actually long-term, and by long-term, I mean a minimum of 5 years of cover cropping, actually improve some of our soil health metrics. So that's important and exciting for farmers.
Dr. Sean Conley, University Extension soybean researcher, taking Wisconsin soybean checkoff dollars to the field. Follow the story at wisoybean.org.
From Chicago, grain markets are mixed. Cash corn is down 5.5 cents at $4.57 a bushel. December new crop corn is also down 5.5 at $4.81.5. Cash beans are trading up half a penny at $12.14 a bushel. November new crop beans are down 4.5 cents at $11.96.5. And July new crop wheat is trading down a penny and a half at $6.64 and a quarter.
How much have you taken the whole thing so far?
Oh, yeah, it was all.
It was
2
like,
minutes.
yeah, exactly.
So we paused it. I just we'll pick it up when we come back. But I don't think we want to take the whole thing. But we take another couple 3 minutes, and then we cut out of it and say Zommers will monitor.
Have we said that Earl's there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I said that's why she's running late, because Earl Ingram has her cornered and interviewed her. And then we'll talk a little.
I resurrected his phone interview with her from 2020, but it was literally just to get out the vote thing. So it was just like, hey, be sure you're safe. It's a pandemic. Get out and vote. Like we're no, and so it was like 3-minute hit the day before Election Day, November of 2020, and it was like, do we repurpose this or not? And I chose not to.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, we'll go this, and then we'll talk a little Packers, and we'll find out what's grinding your gears.
Beautiful.
Do you want me to use Luke's music? Do you want me to use yours just to start this?
Let's use the regular just because it's.
I figured.
More easy.
Oh, way too much. From the ceiling, put it to like 11 o'clock. Where's it at right now? That's 11. Okay, go to 9. All right, that should be better. Thank you. Am I on the right mic? Yeah, I can hear myself. Okay.
All right, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is now 34 minutes past the hour of 12 noon on this Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Our friend and colleague, executive producer of Civic Media, Luke Mathers, has made it in for a special Thursday edition of Thursday Tangents with Luke. We're going to pick up, we're going to get to Luke in just a couple of minutes, but what we have done here through the magic of radio and the fine production of Mr. Zommers, we have paused Vice President Kamala Harris's appearance along with comedian and actor D.L. Hughley down in Milwaukee. So we're about 4 minutes behind the actual live event, but I thought it was important to just stop it where you last heard it. We're going to pick up, going to give you just a few more minutes of this, and then Mr. Zommers will kind of keep monitoring it to see if there's any newsy things. So let's go back once again to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Vice President Kamala Harris, along with comedian D.L. Hughley.
Ain't nobody attacking the village about this, right? But this is very important, and I know from my very lengthy conversation.
Yes.
Not only how important it is the work you've done, but to let people know about it.
That's right.
What's available.
That's right. So as you and I have talked about, first of all, we all know that we are a nation that was empowered and continues to be empowered by the aspirations and the ambitions of her people. And we also know that we don't lack for talent, we don't lack for skills, we don't lack for good ideas and innovative thought, but there are those who, with all of that, lack for access to either information or relationships that allow them to then translate all of those skills into something that will actually be real and, by extension, benefit the whole and entire community and society. So I decided to embark on this economic opportunity tour to travel the country and share with folks what resources are available, and resources that are not just about helping folks get by, but get ahead. We know that we all want an opportunity, if that is our life's calling or ambition, to be able not just to have a job, but to create wealth. Intergenerational wealth, to contribute to the economy of the neighborhood, of the place where you live, and by extension, our country and the world. And so this tour is designed to get that information, because we are doing extraordinary work. I mean, I look at Mr. Phelps, who introduced you and I, his construction company. I was talking to him earlier. He has about 100 employees, and or 50 employees, but or actually, where is he? There you are. How many employees as of now? 50 employees. And I was sharing with Mr. Phelps that we, the president and I, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Act, we are dropping trillions of dollars on the streets of America right now to build back up our roads and our bridges, our sidewalks, to invest in a clean energy economy, to deal with the climate crisis in a way that is about building up adaptation and resilience. Well, a business like Mr. Phelps's business is going to make what we plan to do out of Washington, D.C. real on the streets of America. And here's the thing about why I'm focused on small businesses. One of the reasons is that, do you know that over 90% of construction companies in America have 20 or fewer employees? They're small businesses doing extraordinary work. When you see the signs around Milwaukee and around our country brought to you by the Biden-Harris administration, and you see a crane and you see shovels in the ground, it's going to be with and in partnership with our brothers and sisters of labor, IBEW, who's doing the great apprenticeship work, and it's going to be businesses like Mr. Phelps who are doing that work. So we want them to know what is available to them.
You said something, because I think communally we understand we were raised to work really hard and things would happen. Like a lot of us were told we had to work twice as hard to get half as far. But it isn't just about hard work. It is what you alluded to earlier, access, information.
That's right.
And so that makes me proud. All you can say about somebody is that when you're climbing, you can recognize them when they get to the top. And I can say that's true of you. And that's something that makes me very proud. You are doing those things to expand access. And we talked about that. But the homeowner aspect, that is a chip in the game. That's a big chip in the game.
That's right.
That is access to capital. That is sending kids to college. That is taking a vacation.
That's right.
But for us, the path is a little curvier than for a lot of people.
That's right.
And what are you doing to mitigate some of those things?
So part of how I'm thinking of this economic opportunity tour in general is to acknowledge, speak truth, and acknowledge both the opportunities that exist, but also the disparities and the obstacles that exist. Right. So let's talk about Black home ownership. Without spending too much time on a history lesson, first of all, nobody got 40 acres and a mule.
Right. Right.
Then you look at, for example, and I'll jump around, what happened with a federal policy initiative that said about the greatest generation, those who fought in the wars that established America's leadership on a global scale. Let's invest in that greatest generation when they come back. And there were substantial federal dollars through grants that then went to those mostly servicemen who are then veterans coming back. So when there was this incredible boost around home ownership, let's invest in their ability to buy homes. Incredible boost. However, the Black servicemen did not get full advantage of those loans. So the discrimination occurred there. So where there was a boost, some got ahead and some just didn't get the benefit of it. You look at it in terms of what we know around segregation. You look at it in terms of redlining. And then most recently, an obstacle that we have been addressing and speaking truth about is racial bias in home appraisals, which is very real. So in an environment where Black families are 40% less likely to own homes, we also have, among those who do own a home, so many examples, and DL, you can tell the story of how racial bias has undervalued a Black homeowner's home in such a way that if they rely on that biased appraisal, they will receive less value for their property. If they're trying to sell it or they're trying to get a second mortgage,
it's so ironic you bring that up. It's so ironic.
So we're listening to Vice President Kamala Harris, who is in Milwaukee live right now, along with comedian and entertainer D.L. Hughley. And Mr. Sauer is going to continue to monitor this, so there's more news that comes out of it. We'll certainly bring it to you here on this show and certainly throughout Civic Media throughout the day. Joined now by executive producer of Civic Media, Luke Mathers, of our special Thursday edition of Tuesday Tangents with Luke. You're a busy guy, Luke. We appreciate you making time for us. I think it's great, number one, that the vice president is in Milwaukee. And I know our colleague Earl Ingram from the Earl Ingram Show every morning from 8 until 10 is there. He is a leader in Milwaukee as a whole, but also a prominent leader in the African American community in the Milwaukee area. And he is there. I think it's great that the vice president is here today and brought DL with him or with her, and speaking directly, you just heard it here, to issues that affect a very important population in the segment of Wisconsin.
Yes, and I think it's great that we're here in Wisconsin, which the Biden administration, Vice President Harris giving the history and the background of why it's so important that these issues are being addressed. But I think it's also important to point out that here in Wisconsin, we have some of the most work to do because their reports and research has time and time again shown that Wisconsin is at the bottom of the list when it comes to states that are good for Black and African American people to live in. And so we have a lot of ground to make up here in Wisconsin, and it is very telling that we have a federal administration that is coming and putting in the work and showing what they're doing here to build back not only the small businesses as they're talking about with infrastructure, but specifically in mind to segments of the population that have been historically left out of progress in the past.
And it's an inclusive administration, which I love. And we talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday. And I'm not going to run down the whole list again, and I heard actually Rick Smith, who's heard on tape delay still on many of our stations here at Civic Media. Rick Smith, the national radio and podcaster and television host, talked about the fact that Rick Smith was saying yesterday, I wish the Biden administration would tell more of the good stories. And we talked about this yesterday, and here's Kamala Harris, the vice president, doing that today. But just a partial list, $454 billion in this bipartisan infrastructure law that created 56,000 projects thus far across more than 4,500 communities across the nation, 165,000 miles of roads, more than 9,400 bridges, improving 450 ports and 300 airport terminals, and that is just a partial list.
Yeah, that's a lot of infrastructure weeks all tied into one.
But that was the point that Rick Smith was making.
Yeah.
During the Trump administration, it became a farce. I mean, Saturday Night Live just gets on it. There never was any actual infrastructure.
It was one of those Lucy with the football things
Right.
Constantly throughout the 4 years of the Trump administration was, it was a recurring joke very similar to, this is the week that Donald Trump became presidential. it was that paired with, there's a problem in the administration. Well, we're doing infrastructure week next week, so get ready. We're gonna have success. So much winning, so many deals being made, and I think it's very telling that throughout his 4 years, former President Donald Trump did not deliver on infrastructure where he may have been able to had he put maybe some ego aside, checked his own personality at the door, and just tried to deliver for the American people. But Joe Biden in his first term has indicated that he's capable of doing that.
To your point, Luke, I still maintain had Trump done exactly what you said, just checked his ego a little bit, picked one or two things to work with Democrats to show results, and then done even a mediocre job at the beginning of COVID, I think he would have gotten reelected.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
And so,
there was time and time again, the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself has shown that he is a man of political grievances, and he remembers everything, and he
spiteful.
He's spiteful. He needs to be the bigger person. He can't be the bigger person. He's got to be right. He's got to. It's him. It's all Donald Trump, and Donald Trump. Had he just kind of gotten out of his own way, he could have possibly. He had unified Republican government for the first 2 years of his term.
Right.
He couldn't even get infrastructure week passed with his own party.
Yeah.
It is example after example that all of the smoke and mirrors that the Trump campaign and the Trump administration did is just that. It's smoke and mirrors.
But isn't it great now? We've got an administration, particularly a guy like Joe Biden, who's getting it done, who actually has a history, who has a bipartisan infrastructure law. And this partial list we read, of course, President Biden was in Superior. We covered that. He was down in Racine, Kenosha last week. We covered that. And now we've got Kamala Harris, vice president in Milwaukee, back talking about all these things that they have accomplished. And I love the fact that they're talking about the positives and hey, this is what we got done. And by the way, another shout out to the Rufus King High School Band. Speaking of getting it done.
Yeah?
I always love a good high school band.
Oh, the high school band.
Yeah.
Special place in my heart. I think Zomer's heart as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You're talking to a couple of band geeks when you're talking to Aaron and I.
Well, I was the drum major my senior year of our high school band.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I wore the
I was on the drum line my
I
senior
wore the
year of high school.
tampon hat and the whole thing. So, with
the plume. Come on.
I've never heard it called that.
Really?
I've never heard it called that either, but I'm sure there's sub-circles of high schoolers that would call.
Well, and 4 years later, my sister also was drum major. We were the only brother-sister known drum major at Richland Center High School.
I love that you throw known in there. Like
No, because I mean, maybe
we got to get the Guinness Book of World Records in here. Validate
it's the oldest continual high school band in Wisconsin, Richland Center High School Marching Band.
Oak Creek Marching Knights, one of the best marching bands. A lot of hardware in that
we
band
don't go
classroom.
for best at Richland Center, just oldest.
There you go. That's fair. Everybody's got their own thing.
Right. We're old. Luke's young. Back with more, including our grievances, what grinds our gears, and the Packers. Don't go anywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, go vote for Biden. You think that was on the teleprompter? I don't think so.
It still makes me laugh.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Go home to your mom.
I really like that one, too.
Have you discovered Brian's Cuts folder yet?
I know it exists. And there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah. It's just real good stuff. You come back with I don't want to work. I just want to bang on the drums all day. Or
oh yeah, that's good.
You got Packers on?
Yeah.
It should be cut in dark greatest hits too if you want it from there.
Will that infect our files?
No.
Oh, okay. Just want to make
it's all in Dropbox already.
I'm not sure. Anything in the dark files may be infectious. You understand?
No, most of those files are cut by Brian or I.
Oh, okay. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. We are across Wisconsin and around the world. The Civic Media app. Download the app today at your favorite Apple or Android device. 10 now before the hour of 1 o'clock on Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Almost at 17th. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a day ahead. That'd be a first.
Ready for the weekend. Growing up, driving around in the car with my dad, WKLH used to play that song at 5 p.m. every single Friday night. And it was the signal starting the weekend.
Oh,
it was not only is it what we're going to talk about here in reference there, but every single Friday when I was driving around the car, my dad would have KLH on, and when John Runyon came, or not John Runyon, why am I blanking on the artist
Todd
name?
Rundgren?
Todd Rundgren. Oh. Yeah, thank you. I threw in a Packers player name there. But that's how you
talents.
do. Yes, that's how you knew the weekend was underway in Milwaukee.
Luke Mathers, he usually joins us on Tuesday, but has been gracious enough to join us for a special Thursday Tangent edition with Luke Mathers, executive producer of Civic Media. Luke, let's get right into it now because of the vice president's speech. We don't have a lot of time here, but I got my my Packers polo shirt on today. The NFL released their schedule. Quickly going through the preseason, which may be in danger moving forward, according to many sources. But anyway, they opened up at Cleveland, the Browns, and then they go to Denver, the Broncos, and they're at home for the final preseason game against the Baltimore Ravens, the Dirty Birds, at Lambeau Field.
Dirty Birds, that's Atlanta. Come on.
I still call them Dirty Birds. But still, those are all on your local Packer television affiliate. Check your local listings for time. And, of course, on select stations here at Civic Media. Hopefully one of yours have been selected. Richland Center and Park Falls in particular.
And WRJN.
And WRJN, although they can't hear us now anymore. But
our friends listening in southeastern Wisconsin on WAUK,
on the app. Sure.
And if you're in the Racine area listening on the app, you can listen to your green and gold on WRJN.
There you go.
Local news, timeless hits.
Oh, nicely done. You'd think he, knows a lot about the place, and he does, as it turns out. So, let's get right into the regular season, and we start off. Where at, Mr. Zombers? Not Brazilian food. Certainly not a Brazilian wax. We're going down to Brazil, Sao Paulo, and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles down there in Brazil on Friday, September 6th. The Packers take on the Eagles down in Brazil. What do you think about this international trip?
Really grinds my gears that the tickets are so expensive down there.
Well, thank you for bringing this up first and foremost, because I was ready to go on this.
I looked myself too.
What's going to grind my gears already to kick things off is this frickin' game is only on the Peacock. That's the sad part.
No, it's also on your select Civic Media radio stations.
Well, yes,
so you definitely want to drive over to your favorite spot to park your car, and you can listen to your green and gold that Friday night.
Larry McCarron, The Rock. No, it doesn't get any better than that. But if you want to watch it, it's only on the Peacock.
Yeah,
which grinds my gears.
Yeah,
I want to see you peacock.
Exactly.
You peacock.
I don't want to watch it, but that's the problem. You understand?
Oh yeah. Well, Todd, if you there's ways to get around some of those paywalls, and just create a new Gmail account, sign up for the 7-day free trial, watch the game, and then cancel that account.
But this is what grinds
my lord. Is that legal?
It's a free trial. Why not?
But very quickly, in all seriousness, it's not just there are other games that are only going to be available.
Oh, this season more than ever before. Netflix is going to have for the next 3 years the Christmas Day game. So
I can't. All right, let's go.
Netflix,
continue on.
Did you see what Comcast wants to do? Or they want to rebundle all these streaming services? It's cable again.
Cable's. I mean, everything is circular. We're going back to cable. Only this time it's
cut the cord, and now it's still cable because you have to
Yeah.
buy all of them to get what you want to watch.
At least it's still not going to end up being $100 a month.
Not yet.
now.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean,
YouTube TV is just going to continue to jack up its prices.
And the thing is, you still got to have Spectrum or somebody provide your internet plus on top of the streaming.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple 3 minutes here. Let's go. The first home game is Sunday, September 15th after the hangover flight back from Brazil. The Colts, Indianapolis Colts, come. It's on Fox at home.
Yep.
Any thoughts on that one?
I love me some Jonathan Taylor.
Me
so
too.
the fact that JT gets to come home and play here in Wisconsin, I think that it'd be a really exciting game to watch.
Yep. Then we go down to September 22nd, down to Tennessee. The Titans, that one's on Fox. Who cares? Then back home for a game against the Minnesota Vikings. This is the gold package for people that have the gold package tickets. The Vikes.
3 of the divisional games are on the gold package. Yeah.
It's on CBS.
Yeah.
Jim Nantz.
Yep.
Probably.
And Tony Romo.
Yeah. And Tony Romo, Wisconsin native Tony Romo. So I like that we're getting the Vikes at home early on. I think that's a win. Then at Los Angeles, California, the Rams on Sunday, October 6th, at home against the Cardinals on October 13th, and at home against the Houston Texans on October 20th. Did you see that J.J. Watt, in all seriousness, said if the Texans called this season and said they need him, he'd come out of retirement for one more year?
Yeah, because did you see how good Houston was last year?
Yes,
like, of course, like JJ did not get he got to the playoffs. He took Houston to the playoffs for the first time in a real long time when he did that, but he never got close to that Super Bowl ring. And
I like to see it.
Yeah,
I
shaking
like to
off
see
the
it.
dust on those cleats.
Yeah, I like to see it. Sunday, October 27th at Jacksonville. Then this is, I don't feel good about this, at home on November 3rd against the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions are going to win the Central this year.
The Central.
Or the North, whatever the hell it's called. It changes. I don't like that.
It hasn't changed in years.
Well, I'm old.
It hasn't changed in
I'm
decades.
old. All right, we're running out of time.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Sunday, November 10th, it's a bye. We win that one. November 17th, the Chicago Bears at Chicago. It'd be a more challenging game against Northwestern.
We'll see.
Really?
Yeah.
You think the Bears make a recovery this year?
I think the Bears are gonna. It's one of those things where it's like they got to get better eventually, right? They keep pumping a lot of young talent onto the roster, and so it's like sooner rather than later, it's gonna probably click. I don't know if it's gonna click that early in the season or if it's gonna be this season at all for Chicago, but I think completely counting them out is not necessarily the best idea.
Sunday, November 24th, the San Francisco 49ers at home at 3:25. I'm predicting the Packers finally get a win against the 49ers at home.
That's fair.
Yeah, I like that one.
I like that.
Then,
and these are four, so starting with San Francisco, I believe, 4 primetime games all in a row.
Yeah.
So I think the NFL, the joke last year was there were script writers. Week pretty late in the season, 4 primetime games in a row. Sounds like the NFL script writers think Green Bay might be good.
I think you're absolutely right.
Jordan
dial up your turkey and cranberries for Thanksgiving on the 28th of November. The Dolphins at home.
Yeah.
I like the Packers on Thanksgiving. And then we finish up the season with the Bears at home, another win. Luke, sir, thank you.
Not a problem.
He'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be back next hour. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
Go home to your mom.
Thanks, Looster. That was fun.
No problem. I didn't even get to say what truly grinded my gears.
Oh, what was truly? Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a cat. There's an outdoor cat.
No, wait, come back. Stay. Come back on the top of. We'll have a bonus edition. Any story about cats, I love.
I'll save it for Tuesday Tangents.
Oh,
I got Calvin next.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna tease this. There's a grinding of the gear with cats involved, which is fantastic. We have a cat story, ladies and gentlemen, coming for Tuesday.
If anyone loves a good animal story,
it's us.
Both Todd and I.
Yes.
Greg says on YouTube, I think the Packers might be able to use a blind guy as their kicker this next year. What do you think? You think I could do better than Carlson?
It could be.
Always streaming on the Civic Media app.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The Justice Department submitting notice to reclassify marijuana from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 drug. That lower classification would put marijuana on the level of steroids or ketamine. President Biden, in a video message on social media, says it will also reverse long-standing inequities in criminal sentences.
No one should be in jail merely for using or
And then I still have the Ohio thing.
Period.
The proposed rule is subject to a 60-day public comment period before the DOJ makes the final scheduling determination. Michael Cohen, the former fixer to Donald Trump, back on the stand in the hush money criminal trial. Defense attorneys are trying to poke holes in Cohen's testimony and credibility, claiming that Cohen lied about key evidence, including Trump directed him to pay Stormy Daniels to keep quiet about an alleged affair. Parts of Texas and Louisiana bracing for another round of volatile storms, including a high risk for flash flooding tonight and the threat of tornadoes across the South. This is ABC News.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. The Washington County District Attorney will look into possible charges against State Representative Janelle Brandtjen. The Wisconsin Election Commission accuses her of an illegal scheme to steer $40,000 to Adam Steen, who ran against Assembly Speaker Robin Vos 2 years ago. 4 other Wisconsin prosecutors have declined to take the case. Vice President Kamala Harris is back in Wisconsin today. She's courting black voters in Milwaukee. The latest Marquette Law School poll shows only 37% of Wisconsin's black voters say they feel very enthusiastic about voting in November.
If that switch doesn't happen and that enthusiasm gap isn't kind of made up probably around like Labor Day or so, then I think folks are in trouble.
Democrats.
Yeah.
Community organizer Angela Lang speaking with WYS.
By the way, yesterday on the stream, we had like 14,000 views.
Civic Media News.
That's fantastic.
At the same time. More than that total.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Even though the pro-Palestinian
Right now we have 15,
encampment has been removed,
not
some
1,000,
faculty
15.
at UW-Madison
But we
have launched a
appreciate each and every
protest
one
of their own.
Oh,
Members of
absolutely.
the Faculty Senate have penned a letter saying they condemn how protesters were treated on May 1st when police moved in. The letter claims of all the staff who participated participated. Only faculty of color were arrested. The resolution, if adopted, would ask university leaders to apologize and help clear the records of students and staff who faced disciplinary action or arrest. The Faculty Senate will take up the resolution at a special meeting May 20th. If you loved summer camp as a kid, you can now enroll in a grown-up version. This one even has beer. Aldo Leopold Nature Center is hosting adult summer camp to raise money for its kids' environmental education programs. There's Capture the Flag, fort building, food trucks, and drinks from 5 Madison breweries. Camp Aldo is Saturday, August 24th, and ticket sales are now open. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is WMDX News.
The Packers going prime time again. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The NFL releasing the regular season schedules, and Green Bay will have 5 games in prime time. First, the season opener in Brazil against the Eagles, then 4 night games in a row against the Dolphins, Lions, Seahawks, and Saints. From Thanksgiving to the Monday before Christmas, baseball, the Brewers just kept hitting home runs yesterday on the way to a 10-2 win over the Pirates in Milwaukee. Contreras, Sanchez, Ortiz, and Sam Frelick all with home runs. Frelick then talked about watching rookie Jackson Chourio hit one 441 feet out of the park.
Yeah, it was great. I think that's the closest I'll ever be to hitting one myself is, seeing that and feeling like I was in the box. So it was cool to kind of see that view and see how far a ball went.
Brewers manager Pat Murphy says Chourio is getting a great opportunity in Milwaukee.
If maybe he's with the Dodgers, maybe he's not playing in the big leagues yet. Maybe they wait a year or whatever. But he's lucky he's with this group.
That's the Brewers manager Pat Murphy. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
Cloudy and cooler today with highs in the low 70s as showers and thunderstorms dampen our afternoon. And a marginal risk for storms to turn strong to severe, packing large hail and gusty winds and heavy downpours with near a half an inch of rain possible. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 69 degrees.
Tons of glass artists share the same passion for eye-catching art as Ignite Glass and Gifts, so we're showcasing their work alongside our talented local artists and our in-house Ignite artists. The latest techniques, the hottest colors, and mind-blowing designs are here for you to enjoy. Madison's favorite for glass, gifts, and vape, Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and O'Dana Road, plus IgniteGlassandGifts.com. Do your eyes a favor and see this stuff.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them.
With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise.
No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures.
It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage.
All right, about 20 seconds.
Thank you.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite, joined by our outstanding producer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big show, 6 past the hour of 1 o'clock. We are high atop State Street, a block off the Capitol Square at the old World Headquarters. Great day, Mr. Zommers. Great to have Luke in on a Thursday. Got to cover and hear a little bit of the vice president who is in Milwaukee. We're continuing to monitor that speech with D.L. Hughley. And we got to talk a little bit about the Packers schedule as well.
All good stuff, and always good to have Luke. Unfortunately, we couldn't have him before, but, you got to spread out the love across the week sometimes.
Got to spread out the love, and I begged him. I got down on bended knee and begged him to stay for one more segment, because just as he was walking out of the studio, he goes, we never did get to the thing that was actually grinding my gears. And I said, well, what's that? And he said, well, it involves a cat. And I said, wait, save it, come back on. He said, no, I got to go. And he just, like a cliffhanger, a season-ending cliffhanger, he walked out of the studio with a smile.
Cruel and unusual punishment, I dare say.
So now I'm all ginned up with nervous anticipation for next Tuesday's segment at 12:30. Mark it on your calendar, put it into your Google chat or whatever it is, and mark it down 12:30 on Tuesday. Lukester will be in with what's grinding his gears, which involves a cat.
We need the weird animal stories.
Because if anything, there is never a bad story when it involves a cat, because cats do crazy things. So I'm looking forward to that. Luke will be back on Tuesday with the cat story.
Some of our favorite stories that we've heard from listeners involve cats. Like we have Slayer.
Yes, we do. So there's all kinds of things. We'll talk about that on Tuesday. I want to continue on this conversation. I'm going to get to some other newsy stuff in a minute, but I think, as my former teacher, Andy Spees, is fond of saying, sometimes you have to pause and reflect. So it's a good time here on a Thursday to pause and reflect on this Green Bay Packers schedule. Now, I know some people, I don't care about sports, whatever, but again, the Packers, when you travel around the state, they are one of those things that make Wisconsin great. It's one of those things that unify us for the most part. I know there are a couple of, ne'er-do-well Bears and Vikings fans out there, and God love you, but I mean, most of the state is green and gold. I know Trigby also was very excited about the schedule coming out. So if you'd like to weigh in on the new Green Bay Packers schedule, now's the time. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842.
We have a comment from Jeff Perry.
Yes. Totally off topic, but Senator Ron Johnson looks an awful lot like country legend Eddie Arnold. I messed it up. I'm sorry, Jeff. Yeah, he does. If you look at Eddie Arnold and you look at Ron Johnson, not dissimilar. The weird and wacky, thanks to our ongoing contributor, Jeff Perry. And we love every minute of it, you understand. So the Packers schedule, again, let's get back into it here. The pregame, the ones that don't matter, and there's a lot of talk that next year they may either eliminate the preseason or only have one preseason game and expand the regular season. But they're at Cleveland, at Denver, and then at home against Baltimore for the preseason games that don't matter, the Green Bay Packers this fall. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842 if you want to weigh in on the Packers releasing their NFL season schedule, or any of the NFL schedule for that matter, or text us on the Civic Media app as well. So then it's technically an away game, the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's being played down in Brazil, which I think is kind of cool. Nothing wrong with that. But again, what grinds my gears, that like so many of these sports things now, is only going to be, if you want to watch on TV, only streamed on the Peacock streaming service. Not going to be able to get it on broadcast or cable television. So, I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Summers? This is the year I'll be forced, because this is going to happen a lot, particularly more Badger games this fall. Do you think this will be the year where I'll have to embrace the Peacock?
Well, I think you need to have internet before worrying about that.
That is absolutely true. That's a whole other kettle of fish. Anyway, then on Sunday, September 15th, Indianapolis comes to town. That one's on the Fox. Sunday, September 22nd, at Tennessee on Fox. Sunday, September 29th, at home against the Minnesota Vikings. That's at high noon on CBS. So you got that one on CBS. And then another game next week on CBS as well. Sunday, October 6th, at the Los Angeles Rams. That one at 3:25 in the afternoon. Then Sunday, October 13th, at the Cardinals, Arizona on Fox. Sunday, October 20th, the Houston Texans on CBS. Sunday, October 27th, at Jacksonville. That one on Fox as well. And also at home next week on Sunday, November 3rd, on Fox, the Detroit Lions. Then there's a bye the week of Sunday, November 10th. If you'd like to weigh in on the Packers New schedule, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or text us on the Civic Media app. November 17th. Should be kind of cold. A little breezy maybe. On Sunday, November 17th, high noon on Fox, the Chicago Bears, bear down Chicago Bears, coming up to Lambeau Field. Then, this is a key game, I think. On Sunday, November 24th, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, is going to be the San Francisco 49ers in an afternoon game, 3:25 local, on Fox. Be a big test for the Packers because San Francisco has been able to take it to the pack, especially in the playoffs lately. So that's a key game. Then they're going to be at home on Thanksgiving. That's fantastic. November 28th. Thanksgiving's late this year, by the way. Miami Dolphins, that one is on NBC. Not the Peacock, but the whole bird, NBC. So look at that's a Sunday night game on NBC. For Thanksgiving. That's wow. What a way to round out Thanksgiving. Have a great Thanksgiving meal with the family, friends, if you have a Friendsgiving, whatever, and then just sit down and let the turducken do its work and watch the late game on NBC. Then Thursday, December 5th at Detroit. Again, only on Prime Video. So that's going to be an Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit called game on Prime, Amazon Prime Video, only streamed a Thursday night game. Then Sunday, December 15th at the Seattle Seahawks on NBC. That is a true Sunday night game, 7:20 local time. And this is where I have to make a decision, Mr. Zommers. Do I fly out to see my youngest godson and Trygve Olsen and go to the Seahawks game?
I think that'd be awesome.
We'll see how much tickets are.
I think that's
both for the plane and for the game. Because now that I got the godson out there, I have accommodations. Well, if you'll let me, I haven't asked yet.
I imagine he would.
Yeah, he has a new apartment, very very swanky. He's a bachelor out there, living it up in Seattle. And so if I plead my case, I think he would allow me to bring a sleeping bag. So hotel accommodation's not an issue. It's more about the plane and the game ticket.
How much would you be willing to pay for a ticket to a Packers game?
I've never been to an away Packer game. Have you?
No.
I've only gone to Lambeau Field.
Same here.
Boy, it's going to depend on what the finances are at that point.
That's fair.
I mean, I'd probably pay for a game ticket a couple of $100 for the ticket, and then but here's the deal: I'm not paying $800 for a flight.
Oh no, absolutely not.
I mean, sometimes I saw a flight from I think Chicago to Seattle. Late winter, early spring, it was like $140 round trip.
That's not bad at all.
Now there you got a deal, right? I mean, $100. I mean, you're in probably for the whole thing, for under $500 easily. Now I could save up between now and December and do that. It'd be kind of. I've been to the Seattle field, the stadium, and it's pretty cool. I have to admit, it's in a whole new. They've built it up as a district where the baseball team, the Mariners, play as well. So, and Seattle's a cool town. If you've never been there,
I've never been.
It's a fun place to visit. So we shall see. Would it be great, man? And here's the deal: do I go out on Friday and do the show from Seattle on Friday and Monday, or do I go out over the weekend and then do the show from Seattle on Monday and come back here on Tuesday?
Well, of course, that's entirely up to you.
I think we need to do the show from Seattle, at least one show from Seattle.
That would be very cool.
Yeah. So we'll work on that. Who can we get as guests in Seattle? That'd be fun. Here, Andrew from Maine, listening on WAUK on the app, says, Todd, take your portable studio and do your Monday show from Seattle, then get Civic Media to pay for it. They're sure they'd be fine me going to Seattle and doing the show from Seattle. I'm not sure they'd be fine paying for it.
I don't think so.
I mean, I'd have to get a spectacular guest in order for Civic to pay for it.
It's like Joe Biden's like, sure, I'll be on your show, but only if you meet me in Seattle on Monday morning.
We'd be sleepless in Seattle.
Absolutely.
That's a spectacular idea, Andrew. Maybe we'll run that by Luke next week, and maybe he'll probably say, "Well, if I get to go along, sure." And that's fine with me.
Fair point.
Maybe we just do a big Civic show from Seattle the Monday after the Packer game.
Maybe we just fly everybody in Civic Media out to Seattle.
Rent a plane. All right, then here we go. The Christmas Spectacular a couple of days before Monday, December 23rd at home against the Saints. That one's on Monday Night Football on ESPN. Sunday, December 29th at the Vikings on Fox. And then we rounded out the Green Bay schedule at home either Saturday or Sunday, January 4th or 5th. That's to be determined. That's a flex game against the Chicago Bears. So there you go. I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't want to do the same thing I did last year with the Wisconsin Badger football team and predict big things. But just looking at this, it's a very doable schedule in my opinion. So I feel like it's for sure a playoff year, and I think there's a chance maybe to go deep into the playoffs this year.
It's the seasons of love.
The seasons of love, indeed. All right, well, we're going to come back and turn it back a little bit more to the newsy side of things. And we're going to tell you more good news for modern man and woman. as my teacher used to say, Ken Lewis. We have good news for modern man and woman. And if you are a consumer, we're going to give you the facts on the Biden history and administration of your finances. Don't go anywhere.
I don't need your rocking chair, your Geritol or your Medicare. Well, I still got neon in my veins. This gray hair don't mean a thing. I do my rocking.
Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. A little George Jones for you on Thursday afternoon. Here's Mr. Zomer. It's 20 past the hour of 1 o'clock now. I'm going to talk here about. It's not about Joe Biden's age. He can still get it done. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But our colleague and friend up in beautiful Wausau from Bull Falls Radio has the great Chad Holmes show. Listen to it. You can download the Civic Media app, even if you don't live in Wausau, and then you can listen to Chad's show up there every morning. I believe 10 to, is it 8 to 10 or 10 to, geez, I should know this off the top of my head.
It's 8 to 10.
8 to 10, thank you. Sometimes schedules get rearranged, but 8 to 10, you can listen to Chad Holmes up there on Bull Falls Radio. And he has a great observation before we leave the Packers. He said the problem with the Packers week 1 isn't that it's in Brazil, but that it's on a Friday. First, it was college football. Now the NFL intruding on high school football. I boycott all non-high school football games on Fridays. Absolutely.
That's a good point.
Well said, Chad. Because I was salty about that too when college football started intruding on Friday night high school football. And yes, now the NFL is doing it as well. And look, I know there are people, I don't care. I haven't got a kid in high school football, but it's just, I don't know, in Wisconsin, and I think for other places as well, Friday night is a high school football tradition. I know a lot of people that don't have kids in the games, but they still go to support the community. It's kind of a cool thing to go, and you see your friends and neighbors, you have a hot dog and a Coke and listen to the high school band and watch a high school football game. I agree with Chad Holmes. High school Friday nights should be set aside for high school football, but like everything else, as Jack O'Neill liked to say, it all comes down to the dollar sign, and that's why these other things are impeding on that. Yes, Tony Zimmerman watching on YouTube said, didn't that also grind Luke's gears? I think that he had a lot of gears to grind today, by the way. Yeah, we didn't get to all of them, including the cat story.
We'll get to it.
Well, on Tuesday, we'll get to the cat story. All right. So Vice President Harris is in Milwaukee today. And, of course, we keep hearing this narrative from the mega Republican side trying to copy Ronald Reagan, who asked in 1980, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And that was one of the things that connected the people that helped him beat then Democrat Jimmy Carter. But it's just not the same situation in 2024 as it was in 1980. But still, the Trumpster is trying to use this narrative, are you better off than you were 4 years ago, somehow forgetting the fact that 4 years ago in 2020, he was still the president. So, I mean, and remember, just to jog your memory, I know a lot of people have PTSD in all seriousness, and it kind of blocked it out. In May of 2020, many businesses were shut down. My own included. Had a coffee shop here in Madison. 4 years ago, I know this is hard to believe, 4 years ago in May, I was holed up in my apartment, not seeing my friends, not seeing my family. Sometimes kind of concerned if I should even take a walk. That's where we were 4 years ago. Now, a report came out on Tuesday from the Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, or CBO. It concluded that the goods and services an American household consumed in 2019 were cheaper in 2023 than they were 4 years before. How is that possible, you ask? A lot of talk about, well, the economy and cost of goods. So how is this possible? Well, for all income groups, according to the report from the CBO, it's a Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. According to the report, it says for all income groups, the portion of household income required to purchase the same bundle of goods and services declined. Simply put, incomes grew faster than prices over the 4-year period. Let me say that again. Incomes have grown faster than prices over the 4-year period. So there's that fact. Then there's the fact that the unemployment remains below 4% for a record 27 months. Another fact, 15 million jobs created since President Joe Biden took office. 3 out of 4 of those jobs are recovery from the COVID era. That leaves 3.5 million new jobs created under Biden, according to PolitiFact. PolitiFact also reported that the 80,000 new manufacturing jobs make this the strongest economic recovery in 72 years. Let me say that again. The strongest economic recovery in 72 years. And yet, polling still finds a majority of voters perceiving the economy as, quote, fair or poor, unquote. The divorce between reality and people's beliefs tell us it matters a lot who controls which news stories that reach us. And that is why we are here each and every day. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines. Jack and Merrimack. Jack, thanks for calling in. What say you?
Well, first thing I want to say is that this is a serious problem that you just covered, which is the media keeps on only giving one side of this, essentially. Republicans, the MAGAs, keep on saying, oh, it's terrible, the economy is terrible, you're going to lose your job. the immigrants are going to come in and they're going to steal your jobs and they're going to take college away, and vote and all, and the media, instead of rebutting this stuff, keeps on just letting the Republicans do it.
Right.
That's the first thing that I want to say. But the second thing is this: if you truly are not better off than you were 4 years ago, don't blame the politicians. There are three things that I think that need to be blamed. The first thing is corporate America's strong fighting against unions, the intentional misclassifying people who are employees as gig workers, and fighting every way possible to get cut the amount of money that
Jack, we got 1 minute. Go ahead, 1 minute.
Okay. The other two things are the flow of money to the very top. There is no trickle down.
Mm-hmm.
They're just hoarding it. And the third thing is, yes, there's inflation. According to Business Insider and the Wall Street Journal, 2/3 of that caused by corporate price gouging.
Yeah.
They do it because they can.
Agree 100% on all those things, Jack. And the Dow is at record highs today, by the way. Great call from Jack and Merrimack. We'll welcome your calls as well. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. News update and more after this on Civic Media.
My body's open I don't need your rocking chair.
7 WMDX. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Guaranteed income programs are controversial in some circles, but research shows they're working. They give cash to low-income households with no strings attached. Rachel Barnart is with a nonprofit that facilitates these programs around the country. A study by the Urban Institute looked at how that money is spent in Austin, Texas.
A majority of the cash payments was spent on housing, and we saw an increase in housing stability.
Madison had a privately funded guaranteed income program in 2022 and 23. A Wisconsin emergency room doctor is a recent 4-time winner on Jeopardy and headed to the game show's Tournament of Champions. Dr. Amy Hummel's episodes aired in late April and early May. She won $101,000. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Here's what you need to know closer to home.
This is news from WMDX Madison. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. There won't be any new vape shops coming to one Dane County city anytime soon. Monona has banned new e-cigarette stores from opening for the next 6 months. Milwaukee has done the same thing. A retailer is considered a vape shop if 10% or more of its products are vape accessories. Over these 6 months, the City Council will take a look at zoning e-cigarette stores and look at things like whether they should be specific distances away from schools and whether they then need to change some ordinances. A dog with Wisconsin ties won big honors at the Westminster Dog Show. Mercedes is a 4-year-old German Shepherd, and her handler, Kent Boyles, lives in Edgerton. Mercedes won Best in the Herding Group, then won Reserve Best in Show. That's basically second place overall. Sage, a miniature poodle from Texas, won Best in Show. And that's what you need to know. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, and this is WMDX News.
I'm Pete with the 60-second Showbiz Beat. When a show becomes a hit, it's easier to get big stars to sign on. Such is the case with Only Murders in the Building, which is about to launch Season 4. Entertainment Weekly reports that a new trailer was released on Tuesday, which showcases all the new faces, which include Melissa McCarthy, Zach Galifianakis, Eva Longoria, Meryl Streep, and Molly Shannon. How's that for star power? It also doesn't hurt that people want to work with comedy legends Steve Martin and Martin Short. And Selena Gomez isn't too shabby either. Only Murders drops on Hulu August 27th. Are you ready for
first
more
two seasons were
Terminator?
great,
The franchise's
but, like,
latest installment is an episodic
no,
animated
it's just
series
going
set in Tokyo
'cause
in
it can at this
1997.
point.
Entertainment
I
Weekly reports the
I've
show
only
will
seen
have more of an
such-
emphasis on
the
the
shows
horror
I saw were
genre from the first
fantastic,
two
but I haven't
feature
seen the whole
films.
thing.
Head writer Mattson Tomlin says the series will have all original characters and will take place just before Judgment Day. Episodes for the show will drop August 29th at 3 a.m. You can have the entire season completed by lunchtime.
Just let
For more
the show
showbiz
end,
fun, tune into
people.
Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
This is your hometown radio, refreshed, keeping you informed, entertained, and connected locally across the Civic Media Network.
Cloudy and cooler today with highs in the low 70s as showers and thunderstorms dampen our afternoon. And a marginal risk for storms to turn strong to severe, packing large hail and gusty winds and heavy downpours with near a half an inch of rain possible. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. It's 70 degrees at our studios.
College may not be the right path for your kid, but that doesn't mean they can't earn a good living and have a secure future. If they like working with their
Let's
hands
come back
and want to
with
help
just the
build
regular things. Have a breaking news update, but not big enough to like for the actual music.
Okay,
That's
sounds good.
Something happened in Janesville.
Visit northcountrycarpenter.org and fill out the interest form to get more information. That's northcountrycarpenter.org.
Spring is in the air, hope springs eternal, spring fever, baby!
What are you doing?
This is radio. We like cliches to hammer home a point.
Funny you mention home. Did you know spring is the best time to find a new home?
Time to spring into action.
Or just be smart and contact the Aaron Weber Group at
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is now 34 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Before we get back to the story on Biden and the economy, do have a bit of breaking news to report to you. This is courtesy of Channel 3000, Channel 3, the local CBS affiliate here in Madison. Dateline Janesville, Wisconsin, which is down in Rock County, just south of Madison. According to a report, a welfare check on a person led the Janesville Police Department to briefly evacuate the Janesville school's outdoor lab this afternoon. Police said that the location was 3570 County Road A, was closed for a time for a law enforcement investigation. In a message to parents, the school district of Janesville said some students visiting the school's outdoor laboratory had their field trip cut short. Quote, while JPD did not believe anyone was in immediate danger because the JPD was conducting a welfare check on an individual, the decision was prudently made to end the field trip early and return all students quickly and safely, keyword safely, back to the school, said the message to parents. It went on to say all students and staff, again, all students and staff who were out at the Janesville, they call it JSOL, have been safely returned to their schools. All afternoon trips to the site have been canceled. The school district said it was grateful for the quick action by law enforcement. Again, that's coming to us from Channel 3000, the local CBS affiliate here in Madison, Channel 3. Again, a police investigation to a student field trip was cut short in Janesville. Key news coming out of there. They're very thankful for it, that all students and staff on that Janesville field trip are safe and accounted for and back to school at this time. We'll continue to follow this breaking news and bring you all the updates should they become necessary. 36 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock. Getting back to this story we were talking about before the break there, that again, you're not going to hear this a lot of places, unfortunately. The good news, And as it turns out, it also is factual. Things such as unemployment remains below 4% for a record 27 months under Joe Biden. 15 million jobs created since Biden took office. 3 out of 4 of those jobs are recovery from the COVID area, and that leaves 3.5 million new jobs under the Biden administration, according to PolitiFact. Also reporting that 800,000 new manufacturing jobs make this the strongest economic recovery in 72 years. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Let's go to Cam, listening up in the beautiful municipality of Neenah on WISS, Oshkosh Air Support. Appreciate your patience, Cam. Thanks for calling in. What say you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I am just scrolling through the internet as I listen to you guys, because, I mean, that's just kind of how I spend my lunchtime, right? And
sure.
I was thinking about how, like, with any of the economy wins and junk that get talked about, I'm happy that jobs get created. I think when I would originally call into Devil's Advocate Radio sometime like summer of last year, as a new caller there, I would bring this up and talk about it more often, but I didn't want to become a complete broken record on there. And I'm not going to here. But
we appreciate the call and your listenership, Kim.
Well, thank you. I love your guys' selection of shows, including yours.
Thank you.
I wanted to bring up stuff like rent being so high, and I don't know how. It's one of those things that's like gas, right? Where people end up blaming the president for it. They blame the current administration for it. Obviously, it's not up to them. But what can be done about that? Because when those numbers go up, people will end up associating that with, well, it was lower when it was Trump versus Biden, so I'm going to vote for Trump to stop suffocating every single day. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get it. Believe me, renting in Madison, I totally get it. And I appreciate the call. And I think, look, I don't have all the answers, but I think that you hit on it in large part, which is getting factual information out there and realizing, much like gas prices, the president of the United States does not have direct control over rent and housing, and particularly in local municipalities. Part of what, I can't speak to your area in Neenah or the greater Fox Valley area. I can simply say in Madison that rents were already going up even during the Trump administration. As someone who, has rented here quite a while, I can tell you what partly what drives up the Madison market, it's the yin and the yang, right? Good and the bad. That Epic, the big healthcare insurance company here in just outside of Madison, Verona, they, for the most part, pay very, very good salaries. Last check, I think the average starting salary at Epic was about $90,000 plus. And I mean, and the average, this, it may have changed now. This is probably 6-7 years ago. The median age for an Epic worker here in Dane County, 27 years old. That's the median age. It means half the people are less than 27 years old. And God love them. They've worked hard. They've gotten degrees. You have to have great grades and whatever to get hired there. It's a very specialized place, and you're being paid a phenomenal salary. But the thing is, a lot of those young people in their 20s aren't necessarily sure that they want to make Madison their longtime home. So they're not necessarily buying homes in Dane County. They're looking to rent. And where do they want? I mean, it has improved over the last 5 or 6 years. There's more housing being built in Verona proper. But a lot of these young people in their 20s, they got $90,000 coming in a year, lots of disposable income. They want to be downtown Madison here, where we're at. And so you have these big high-rises being built with luxury apartments. And the average price for a one-bedroom apartment now in Madison, the average price is $1,600. And that's being driven up, not just by Epic, but also, what's the other big company, Mr. Zommers, the cancer research, or not research, but Cologuard place. I can't
think of it, but I know what you're talking
but,
about.
And there's also Google has a facility here. There's a Tech Industries, University Research Park. There are a lot of good paying jobs in Madison and Dane County for specialized degrees. But that drives up the overall price for all housing in Madison. By the way, I think I told this story before. 3-4 weeks ago, just for the fun of it, I went to one of the Veridian is a big home builder here in Madison. I went to one of their new developments and asked, just out of curiosity, what's the cheapest I could get into if I wanted to buy a brand new home in Madison. For the lots on these things, the yard, quote unquote, is about 10 feet either side of the building. Fine. It was about a little over 1,250 square feet. So pretty average to smaller size square footage. In Dane County right now, if you want to build a new home, particularly with Verizon, the entry price for a new 2-bedroom home, 1,200 square feet, $425,000. $425,000. That ain't cheap in my book. Oh, thank you very much. One of our listeners on WMDX, Exact Sciences. I'm listening from there now. Very good. And look, I think Exact Sciences is a phenomenal industry. Their CEO is fantastic, invests, is philanthropic, and invests in the community, and provide, for everything I know, good paying jobs with benefits. So I'm not angry about people doing well. I'm just saying that when you have a community like this where there are a lot of good paying jobs, that drives up the housing market. That has more to do with the area than it does anything with Joe Biden. Now you can say, well, the mortgage rates and all that sort of thing are controlled by the federal government. But when it comes to the price of rent, it's kind of what the market is. And I know in Madison here, they've taken steps. They've just announced a new affordable housing project on the north side of Madison. And that's great. But, I think it's important, to Cam's point, that we point these things out, how it actually happens. And I get the individual people's lives. You get angry when you can't afford things. I'm the same way. But that ain't because of Joe Biden. And I think when you look at the facts, it's different. So I think it's important to separate the two. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Tom, listening here in Madison. Tom, thanks for calling in. What say you?
You bet. Yeah, great show. I always love the Republicans' idea that a president is responsible for everything in their lives.
Right.
They hate a nanny state, but they love a daddy figure.
But and not to interrupt, Tom, but very quickly, but they don't want to give credit when things go well, right? That's the thing that always amazes me. It's like they like to gripe about it, they blame the president when it's bad, but when things go well, that's not his. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, because basically they're like a daddy figure, and their daddy, when their daddy is responsible, then they get praised. When your other daddy is responsible, someone else is, then they get the blame. Especially when it comes to gas prices. I mean, let's face it, if the president actually controlled gas prices, gas would be down to $1.50 a gallon every October. Mm-hmm. It just, without fail. It's just so silly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, it's a much easier narrative, right, for MAGA folks to blame President Biden. That's easy. It's more difficult to look at the facts and present those, and then even more difficult to get news organizations to talk about it, because you know what? Controversy is more clickbait online and jacks up listenership and viewership. Sometimes the facts are not as politically or entertaining sexy. But it's important, I think, that we stick to the facts. So I appreciate the call time.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Tom in Madison listening here on WMDX. If you'd like to be like Tom, give us a call, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Going back to Cam from Nina, said I was going to add that I see too many landlords comfortably posting $2,500 to $3,000 rents for townhomes in the Nina area. But to tie it back to President Biden, even if, keyword if, the president was capable of changing those prices, I'm certainly not voting for the failed hotel mogul whose wife doesn't sleep in the same room as him. This is important because it skews his views of how many rooms are needed for families. Well, that's a great point, right? Because, when you don't sleep with your wife because she doesn't want you in the same room, you need more bedrooms, of course. That's a great point, Cam. I'd continue to vote for Biden because he has experience with loss and hardship and never calls people losers for having had experienced that. Ultimately, he's a president for all. Great points, Cam. Really, really great points, and appreciate you calling in. If you'd like to join with your thoughts, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. And then there's this, courtesy of the Associated Press from today. U.S. stocks are drifting higher today and adding to their record set a day before. The S&P 500 up 0.2% this morning. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was 109 points higher, or 0.3%, at 40,017 this morning. And the NASDAQ Composite was up 0.2%. All three rallied yesterday to set all-time highs. Say that again. All three of those, the Dow, NASDAQ, S&P 500, all up to set record highs yesterday. Walmart alone rose 6.4% after reporting stronger profits for the latest quarter than analysts expected. Like, I get that sometimes these good numbers don't always affect you and I personally as much as we'd like. But when you have Trump going around saying, well, if you reelect Biden, the stock market's going to crash. All the stock market has done under Joe Biden is gone up. And if you're a union person, if you're a teacher, if you have a retirement account, this is absolutely great news for you. Back with more on the other side. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Thursday. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
You want to use that Ohio farmer?
Should we do that, or should we do? I don't have time for. Do we want to do that, or I have a thing on No Mo May?
I guess
sure,
up to you.
Well, there should be time to do both. So yeah, we'll do that. I wish we had Kleenexes in here. Are there any in there?
No.
There is no compassion from Mr. Zommers for Todd's runny nose.
Well, you asked if there are any in here, and there aren't.
No. No, there are none. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on Civic Media. It is now 10 minutes before the hour of 2 o'clock, pardon me. At the top of the hour, some national news, weather, sports, and then it's time once again for the award-winning Maggie Dawn Show. Every afternoon from 2 until 4, Maggie Dawn brings you great perspective from a lawyer, also just from a great citizen, broadcaster, the Maggie Dawn Show, every afternoon from 2 until 4, immediately following our program. Want to bring you, and this has been a great discussion. Appreciate the calls, appreciate the texts on this. Because, again, facts matter. When you talk about the fact that incomes under Joe Biden, the amount of money that you and I are making, and again, I get it, it might not be as much as we want, but according to the Congressional Budget Office, incomes are growing faster than prices over the last 4-year period. A record 15 million jobs created since Biden took office. 3.5 of those are new jobs that are not related to COVID. 800,000 100,000 new manufacturing jobs, make this the strongest economic recovery in 72 years. Thanks, Joe. And that may be why, paired with the history of Trump and Trumpism and MAGAs, that may be why people are saying enough is enough. I've talked in this program before. I was a Republican for 30 years, worked a lot in state and federal government. Left in 2011, left the Republican Party in 2011 over voter suppression issues. But I am not alone. And I think it's important for people all across the state who may be in the same position as me of saying, look, Todd, I'm a little confused here. I don't know what to do. Well, don't take my word for it. Here is a guy from Ohio. This was fantastic. It was on CNN. Going to play it for you in its entirety. If you're someone who's just saying, am I alone out here in questioning this Trump stuff? Maybe it's me. Listen to this great interview from CNN.
Walk me through your political conversion. Was the Trumpification, so to speak, of the Republican Party that straw?
Well, thanks, Laura, for having me, and thanks for helping tell the story. I spent 20 years within the Republican administration in Shelby County, much of that as chair, I think 7 years as chair. And in 2014, I stepped down as chair voluntarily because I was starting to feel that Tea Party movement that eventually moved into what we now know as the MAGA movement. And I specifically look at Steve King out of Iowa and others who were extremely hard on immigrants. And I was a proponent of good immigration reform. If you remember in 2013, I think we had the Gang of Eight bill in the Senate that did not never make it because of John Boehner didn't want to bring it up in the House. So that bill that would have really done real good immigration reform failed. So I was a proponent of that. I stepped down as chair at that time, stayed on in leadership, and got up to the 2016 election and begrudgingly voted for Donald Trump. And because I thought, you know what, there's nothing he can do that our institutions and our Congress couldn't fix. But Laura, what's the punchline? Boy, was I wrong. Now, our institutions, of course, they're holding a little rough on the judicial system, I'd say. But I never considered that Congress would fold like a cheap lawn chair. So they just folded. And what I found out about the Republican Party right then, that I had given 20 years of my most important possession beyond family, and that was my name, is that the ideals of diplomacy, statesmanship, personal responsibility, compassion for other people wasn't only a lie, it was a damn lie. And so I left the Republican Party actually over trade. We can talk about that later. Trump's tariffs in 2019, 18 and 19, became an independent for a while, and then found the Democratic Party and found where I needed to be.
I'm really fascinated by that process, particularly even becoming an independent in the interim and then becoming a Democrat and in a leadership position, no less. And the way you've described it, it didn't come at, a zero cost to you. It came at a cost. You lost dear friends, your job on the Board of Elections. When you reflect 6 years later now, do you have any regrets?
No, I don't. Because now I'm part of a party that looks for solutions for people, that provides solutions for people, and doesn't look for retribution and revenge against individuals. And that's why I'm part of the Democratic Party. So I don't have any regrets. On the losing the friends from the Republican Party, what I found out there is that those were simply friends of proximity, just they wanted to be in proximity of leadership. So that's the bad news. The good news, I saved a whole hell of a lot of money on Christmas cards. So
That was a great line. Saved a whole hell of a lot of money on Christmas cards.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
That is Chris Gibbs. Chris Gibbs, long-time, 20-year plus Republican who went independent, and he himself decided to join the Democratic Party now. But that was on the Laura Coates show on CNN. Look, not everybody has to do what he did, which is go from being a Republican to the Democratic Party. Maybe you're more in the vein of me, where you just got fed up with this and said, look, I'm smart enough to look in the mirror and say, does this mega stuff line up with what I believe? And I know that it's not. So you walk away and you're independent like I am now. Even though I've voted Democratic since I left, I don't belong to a Democratic Party. I don't belong to any party. I think you can look in the mirror and ask yourself, are these values that are being espoused by Trump and the MAGA folks, are these my values? And if you just ask yourself that question, I think you'll probably get the answer. And look, you don't have to have a microphone like I do. You don't have to make a big deal about it. It's how you vote and how you talk to your friends and neighbors. And it doesn't have to be all vitriol and yelling and screaming. It can be maybe this fall, watch one of these great Packer games that we're going to have, except the ones on Peacock, of course. You can listen to it, though, on select stations and civic media. And you just have conversations with people, and you find common ground. Or the Packers or the Badgers are going to a quilt show or going to a state park, and having the courage to talk about your own beliefs, not Trump's, not Biden's, not Kennedy's, not anyone else, your own beliefs. And I think as we see repeated today in our calls and our texts, look at the person who has compassion. Look at the person who's not self-aggrandizing. Look at the person who lost members of the family, who knows death and loss. And then look at the person who has a record of accomplishment. Strongest economic recovery in 72 years. And that is under President Joe Biden. Great show. Thank you, Mr. Aaron Zomers. Thank you, Luke Mathers. See you tomorrow. Stay tuned now for Maggie Dawn's show. Back tomorrow. Until then, whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum.
All right.
Thank
Adios,
you,
everyone.
everybody. We appreciate your listenership, your viewership. We'll see you mañana.
Have an excellent afternoon.
Yes.
Take care of yourselves.
Bye.